Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Dowd here with not one but two top stories for you today. One of them is not surprising at all, and the other one is, well, not surprising at all. So let's get to it. It is April 23rd, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. Samsung is pulling back on the Galaxy Fold and delaying its launch to an unspecified date. This date will be announced in my absolute favorite time period of tech announcements, in the coming weeks, which, for those of you not in the know, is tech speak for we have no idea when this is going to be, if ever. Now, I'm going to skip over the timeline recap of the Galaxy Fold, but Tristan breaks it down for you quite well on the Digit.com newsletter, so get to reading. I'm going to skip to the end. The phone went out to reviewers, the phone broke, and now all hell is breaking loose. Review units are being recalled, which some reviewers will point out isn't odd because the loaners were only out for a 10-day loan, but I'll counter by saying, it hasn't been 10 days yet. But anyway, so we know launches around the world are being delayed and the folks who pre-ordered can cancel if they want. And we know that Samsung is asking for review units back, even the not broken ones. But what does this mean? Well, it means two things, really. First, it means that the Galaxy Fold may not yet be ready for prime time. It's another thing to put the phone in the hands of real humans. Second, Samsung is handling this correctly. It's taking a cautious, measured approach and not allowing people who love the company so much that they're willing to drop $2,000 on them to beta test this product. So early adopters might have to wait a little longer, but hopefully Samsung can make the tweaks it needs to release a fully baked product. And speaking of products not yet ready for prime time, let's talk about Tesla. We talked briefly about this yesterday, but Elon had some of his closest friends over for some cake and self-driving talks. And by friends, we mean investors, because aren't they the best friends? Anyway, Musk and Tesla reiterated that it will ship full self-driving cars in around 2 years. And here's some details. Tesla has left the NVIDIA Drive platform and develops its own custom chip to drive the system. No pun intended. The new chip is capable of running far more neural networks for visual recognition than previously thought possible, and that chip is in Tesla cars as of about a month ago. Older cars can pay to have the new chip retrofitted. Additionally, Musk said that all cars rolling off the floor now have all the hardware needed for full self-driving capability. Now it's just a matter of developing the software. It's all about the details. And even more, Musk revealed a robotaxi network that is planned for launch in 2020, and that's next year, folks, and just what was in that cake anyway. In the meantime, Musk is hoping to release Tesla self-driving cars without steering wheels or pedals within a few years, and this is either awesome or insane, and I can't tell which. So while we try to sort all that out, let's head into the roundup! If you find yourself struggling to do it for the TikTok because it doesn't feel as right as doing it for the Vine, or you just aren't into lip-syncing videos, then I have good news for you. Vine creator Dom Hoffman is taking on TikTok with a Vine 2.0 creation that he's calling Byte with a Y. The platform is in invite-only beta testing for now, but it similarly relies on short-form videos created with your phone. Personally, I'm pulling for the return of Bat Dad. So we're going to file this one under something you don't see every day. Russy Adams II, which I always thought was Junior, but anyway, from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, faces sentencing for an armed robbery of a domain name. Now, there is clearly more to the story here, which I frankly don't have the time to unearth, but Adams started an Instagram/Twitter and other social accounts in which he photographed fellow Iowa State students doing things they'll regret later. Drunkenness, nudity, etc. He wanted to get the domain name doitforstate.com because that's sort of a catchphrase for the accounts. Another guy in Cedar Rapids already owned the domain name, and after repeated requests to buy the domain name, Adams sent his cousin to the domain name owner's house to force him at gunpoint to transfer the domain. Fortunately, there is justice in the world because the domain owner ended up shooting Adams' cousin, but don't worry, he lived, and now both Adams and his seemingly incompetent cousin are headed off to the big house, which in all fairness will probably be a lot more fun than Cedar Rapids, Iowa anyway. And in another case of something you don't see every day, a podcast has caused a car stereo to reboot itself. The Mazda 6 car stereo apparently won't play the podcast 99% Invisible with host Roman Mars, who did an awesome TED Talk on flags, BT dubs, because apparently the percent sign followed by the letter I disrupts communications with the car's computer and makes the computer think it's unresponsive. So the car's computer triggers a reboot, and people wonder why I don't code. You know those YouTube videos where a bottle full of water will spontaneously freeze when it's hit? Well, it turns out that those videos might be the key to finding dark matter. Sort of. A physicist whose name is mispronounced Matthew Zydagus realized that the same trick could be used to find dark matter. By supercooling pure water in what he calls a snowball chamber, which is an awesome name by the way, he could place what's called a target material inside the chamber, and when dark matter comes in contact with the target material, the resulting collision should be enough to freeze the water, just like on YouTube. But it would be funded by grant money instead of ads. And remember, kids, the difference between science and YouTube is where the money comes from. And finally, organizers of hashtag Google Walkout are facing retaliation that is totally not retaliation, but is kind of retaliation for their actions, which caused 20,000 employees and contractors around the world to leave their desks in response to Google's mishandling of sexual harassment claims. Now, I'm on the fence here because retaliation is kind of bullsh. But at the same time, if there was no threat of retaliation, then what's to stop Google walkouts from being a daily occurrence? Today it's sexual harassment, which is a noble cause and needs to be addressed. But tomorrow it could be, we want meatloaf in the cafeteria. It's the possibility of harm that makes these walkouts worth fighting. I'm not saying the organizers are in the wrong, and I'm not saying that Google is right. This is kind of a dick move, but I'm not so sure that all parties involved can really be surprised here. So while we contemplate the consequences of our choices, that is going to do it for today's Digit Daily. And if you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe and leave a review, and don't forget to tell your friends about digitdailypod.com. Once again, I'm Adam Dowd, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again tomorrow.